Salute to you, soldiers. My name is Josh General55, and welcome to another Wacky Tech video. Today, I was able to, well, I was going to say I was able to get my hands on, but this is actually, I've had this for a while, but it's an iPod Nano 6. You might be able to tell that the camera's a bit lower for this one, because this thing's not very large. This is my finger compared to the size of this, so yeah, it's very small, but hence the name. The iPod Nano 6 was released in September of 2010, along with the iPod Touch 4 and the iPhone 4. The iPod Nano was meant to be basically the Apple Watch before the Apple Watch, and it was just for music. So what's hilarious about this is it's so small. This is the size of the brick that came with the actual iPod. So it's very small. Overall, the size of the entire body or chassis is about 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. The actual screen itself, however, is 1 inch by 1 inch. So a very, very tiny screen, but, you know, you bought it for that exact reason. It is a 240 by 240 pixel screen, which is about 220 pixels per inch, even though the screen is only 1 inch. And this is also the, the size of the charger that came with it, so there you go. So, because the screen was so small, they didn't want you having to poke around at tiny little apps, so they gave you two options for layout. You could give this linear layout that had one app, you know, that would be tappable at any given time. Or if you go into the settings, you can go to home screen, and you can have small icons. And instead of a back button, everything was operated with the back swipe, as typical iPhone fashion. And there you go. You have little tiny icons that are about the size of my fingernail, to give you some reference for size. This little tiny guy, he is capable of more than you may think. Here, let me get it back to normal size. I don't want to have to poke around at these little tiny apps. Let's take a look at some of the apps on this thing. So there's podcasts. Most of the media that would come through on this thing, you would have to preload using your MacBook or Mac at the time. Anything associated with your Apple ID, like music, photos, anything like that, you would hook this up to your MacBook and load it onto here. So you could view photos on here. You could have podcasts. You could use it as a watch. In fact, there are like little tiny watch band attachments that you can get for this thing, and they actually look pretty dang cool. And there's a multitude of different watch faces that you can use on this thing. They're not customizable, but they're changeable. So, you know, you can get some cartoon characters. You can have it just look like a basic watch. You can have it as like any sort of digital watch. This one was my personal favorite that I used. I don't know why it thinks it's 1970. And it's not Thursday. And it's, yeah, there's all kinds of things that are wrong here. It's not even 3:26 right now. But anyway, you could also track your fitness. Now, there is no heart rate sensor on this thing. This was purely for guesswork. So basically, you would put a walk in, and you would, it judges calories by how fast you were moving and how many steps you took. It could tell how many steps you took, but there was no heart rate sensor or anything like that, so it wasn't necessarily the most accurate, but it still was somewhat of a benefit. It has radio. This was probably the thing that I used the most because it was so freaking cool. All you had to do was just plug in any earbud or headset, and you would be able to listen to radio. No subscription, no Wi-Fi, no cellular service needed. All you needed was this, and it would use the little antennas inside of it, and you would plug it in. I just noticed that when you plug this in, it goes about halfway up the whole thing. You would just plug it in, and you could get radio stations in your area. So, let me, there we go. And here you go. You have a full radio tuner, all the way from 87.5 up to 107.9. So, not the biggest range, but again, this was amazing back in the day. I loved using this thing. You could even favorite certain stations. You could favorite certain songs so you could look them up later and buy them. Yeah, when you unplug it, it says no radio signal. You could also load music onto this thing. So, as of right now, I have a lot of 21 Pilots songs. I have about 54 of those, you know, some John Bellion, some nice mix in there. And then there would be like a little now playing screen, but I unplugged it. So this thing, it has a power button, the 2 little tiny volume buttons. It has the 30-pin charger that was universal at that time. Another thing about this is on the back, it has this cool clip. So you could hook it onto your pants, your belt, anywhere on your shirt. Pretty much anything that could hold up less than 1 ounce you could hook it onto, and if it could fit within that range of opening, you could slap it onto there. One last thing about it is this is not an LCD screen. It is a TFT panel. TFTs were used at the time before LCD was more of like a universally adopted thing. The main difference between a TFT and an LCD screen is TFTs tend to have a limit on how good the resolution can be, and they also have a considerable amount of like ghosting when you're moving things really fast, but otherwise it's a really, really nice display. And it's actually decently sharp for the resolution that it's at. You know, there might be a couple sharp pixels on the edge, but otherwise it's all good. Another convenient thing about this is that the battery was so small that it could charge fully in about 30 minutes. You see how it's a half battery? Yeah, I had that plugged in about 10 minutes ago and it was dead. But what also is nice about it is everything is so small and low power that a full charge lasted me about 3 days. So, you know, you could listen to music or radio for a fairly long time, and then you could charge it for 30 minutes and then go another few days on it. And it was really, really nice. All right, that just about sums up the weird tech review on the iPod Nano 6. If you liked it, I would greatly appreciate a like down at the bottom. If you would like to comment anything that you liked or disliked about this video, I'll be happy to try and change that to improve your viewing experience. Or if you just want to have a little conversation down in the comments, I would love if you know, socialized a little bit. Yeah, and I'll try and respond to your comments as much as I possibly can. And if you could possibly let me know if you also like this series. I want to know what you guys like and dislike so I can keep making them. And if you have any recommendations on tech that you want to see if I can try and get my hands on and review, or any games that you'd like to see me play, I'm open to suggestions. Anything that you think you might want to watch, or something that you think you would enjoy. The sky's the limit. I'm open to pretty much anything at this point. But that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to take it easy, keep it breezy, and don't forget to laugh a little. At ease, soldiers.